They handed me a yellow badge at my daughter's wedding. Restricted access, it said. My wife whispered I wouldn't get dinner. I'd just written an $87,000 check for this day. So I walked to the gift table, grabbed my envelope with $300,000 inside, and left. What I discovered next about my wife and son-in-law destroyed everything I thought I knew about my family. My name is Robert Kincaid. I'm 58 years old, and I've spent the last 30 years building a medical equipment distribution business from nothing. Started in a rented warehouse in Newark with 2 used delivery trucks and a dream that my kids would never know what it felt like to choose between paying the electric bill or buying groceries. I succeeded. Put Michael, Amanda, and Ella through college debt-free. Owned my home outright. Had enough saved to retire twice over if I wanted to. But success doesn't buy you respect. Not in your own home. Anyway, Amanda's wedding was at the Riverside Estate. One of those venues where they charge you $300 just to look at the gardens. My wife Patricia, Trish to everyone except creditors and doctors, had spent 18 months planning every detail. The napkins alone cost more than my first car. I wrote the checks without complaint because Amanda was my daughter, my firstborn, and I wanted her day to be perfect. I arrived early, wearing the charcoal suit I'd bought specifically for this occasion. The parking attendant directed me to the guest lot, which seemed odd since I was the father of the bride, but I didn't make a fuss. Inside, the coordinator, a woman named Jennifer with a clipboard and a headset, smiled at me like I was delivering flowers. Name? She asked. Robert Kincaid. Amanda's father. She scanned her list, frowned, then reached into a box and pulled out a plastic badge on a cheap lanyard. Not the elegant cream-colored ones other guests were wearing. This one was bright yellow with black letters. Restricted access. What's this? I asked. Oh, it just means you'll need to check with an usher before entering certain areas. Security protocol for the day. I clipped it on because what else was I going to do? The ceremony was beautiful. Amanda looked radiant, walking down the aisle on the arm of Trish's brother, Uncle Paul. Not me. When I'd asked about it 3 months ago, Trish had said Amanda wanted someone more present in her life. I stood in the 4th row, behind cousins I'd helped financially through 2 foreclosures. Nobody looked at me. The reception was worse. The seating chart had my name at table 14, near the kitchen doors. Trish found me staring at it. Robert, don't make a scene, she whispered. I'm the father of the bride. Where's the head table? That's for immediate family and the wedding party. Trish leaned closer. Your badge means no plate for you. Anyway, we had to cut costs somewhere. The words hit like a punch. No plate. At my own daughter's wedding. The wedding I'd written an $87,000 check to help fund. I walked to the gift table. My envelope sat near the bottom, thick and white. Inside was a certified check for $300,000. The education fund I'd built since Amanda was born, liquidated stock, and savings accumulated over 15 years of driving the same truck. I picked it up and tucked it into my jacket. Robert, where are you going? Trish's voice turned uncertain. I didn't answer, just headed for the exit. Robert, don't you dare make a scene. I pushed through the doors. Behind me, rapid footsteps clicked on stone. Please. Trish grabbed my arm in my car. I didn't mean it. Come back. Please, I didn't mean it. I looked at her hand, then her eyes. The tears weren't for me. They were for the embarrassment, for the ruined picture. Yes, you did mean it, Trish, I said quietly, removing her hand. You meant every single word. The money, Robert. What about the check? There it was. Not us or Amanda. The money. That's between me and my daughter now. You made your choice when you handed me that badge. I got in and drove away. In the rearview mirror, Trish stood in the parking lot, one hand over her mouth, the venue's warm glow behind her. Then I turned the corner, and she disappeared. I drove for 2 hours straight, no destination in mind, just putting distance between myself and the Riverside Estate. The check sat in my jacket pocket like a lead weight, a physical reminder of everything that had just collapsed. My phone started buzzing around the time I hit the interstate. Trish, then Amanda, then numbers I didn't recognize. I let them all go to voicemail. Around 10 p.m., I pulled into a truck stop diner off Route 80, the kind of place where the coffee's always hot and nobody asks questions. I ordered eggs and toast from a waitress named Dolores who looked like she'd seen it all and wasn't impressed by any of it. Rough night, she asked, refilling my cup. You could say that. Wedding or funeral. I looked down at my suit. Wedding. Yours or someone else's? My daughter's. Dolores nodded slowly. And you're here instead of there. That tells me everything I need to know. She walked away before I could respond. I sat there until midnight, watching truckers come and go, listening to the clatter of dishes and the low hum of conversation. Normal people living normal lives, untouched by the kind of betrayal that makes you question 30 years of marriage. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Michael, my son. Just 3 words. Dad, you okay? I stared at those words for a long time. Michael had always been different from Amanda. Straightforward, honest, never played games. He'd chosen to be a firefighter instead of joining my business, and I'd respected that, supported it, even. Now I wondered if he'd seen something in our family that I'd been too blind to notice. I texted back, I'm fine. At a diner. Need some time to think. His response came immediately. I heard what happened. Table 14 and a restricted badge? That's messed up, Dad. So word was already spreading. Good. Let them all know exactly what kind of people they were celebrating tonight. Did you know about this? I typed. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, Mom told Ella and me we weren't important enough for the head table either. We're at table 9 with some of Derek's college buddies. But we got plates, so I guess we ranked higher than you. This whole thing is wrong. I felt something loosen in my chest. At least I had 2 kids who still had their heads on straight. 2 kids who understood that blood meant something more than seating arrangements and fancy badges. Where's Ella? I asked, sitting next to me, looking like she wants to set the centerpiece on fire. She's furious. Keep asking where you went. Tell her I'm okay. Tell her I'll call tomorrow. Dad, seriously, where are you going to go tonight? Good question. I hadn't thought that far ahead. Home wasn't an option. That house belonged to Trish in every way that mattered. She decorated it, filled it with her friends, made it into a showcase for her perfect life. I'd just been the wallet that funded it all. I'll figure it out, I typed. Don't worry about me. Too late for that. I paid my bill, left Dolores a generous tip, and walked back to my car. The night air was cool, clean, carrying the smell of diesel and distant rain. I sat behind the wheel and pulled out the check, looking at the numbers in the dim light of the parking lot. $300,000. Amanda's future, or what I'd thought would be her future. Now it was leverage. Now it was a statement. I started the engine and headed north, toward the lake house. The one property Trish had never cared about because it was too rustic, too far from her social circle. The one place that was still mine. The lake house sat on 3 acres of pine and birch, 2 hours north of the city, far enough from civilization that you could actually see the stars at night. I bought it 15 years ago with the first real profit from my business, back when I still thought Trish and I might grow old together in a place like this. She'd visited exactly twice, complained about the lack of cell service both times, and never came back. I pulled into the gravel driveway around 2 in the morning. The house was dark, silent, exactly as I'd left it 3 weeks ago after my last solo fishing trip. I unlocked the door and stepped inside, breathing in the familiar smell of cedar and wood smoke. This place had always been mine, titled in my name alone, paid for with money I'd earned before we'd combined our finances. Trish had never wanted it in the divorce, assuming there ever was a divorce, which now seemed inevitable. I made coffee in the old percolator, the kind that takes 10 minutes and sounds like a small engine warming up. While it brewed, I sat at the kitchen table and finally checked my voicemails. 17 messages. I listened to the first 3. Trish, voice tight with fury. Robert, you need to come back here right now and explain yourself. You've humiliated Amanda on her wedding day. How could you be so selfish? Amanda, crying, Dad, where did you go? Mom says you took the check. Please call me back. I don't understand what's happening. Then one from Derek's mother, a woman I'd met exactly twice. Mr. Kincaid, I don't know what kind of man walks out on his daughter's wedding, but you've certainly shown your true colors tonight. I deleted the rest without listening and pulled out my laptop. If they wanted to know what kind of man I was, I'd show them exactly that. I opened my email and started drafting a message to my lawyer, Frank Hutchins, a man who'd handled my business contract for 20 years and knew where every dollar of my money lived. Frank, need to schedule an emergency meeting Monday morning. Subject: asset protection and estate revision. Bring all documentation related to family trusts, joint accounts, and the education funds. Time to make some changes. I hit send, then opened my banking app. The joint checking account showed $83,000. I transferred $75,000 to my business operating account, leaving just enough to cover the automatic mortgage payment. The savings account, another $42,000, got the same treatment. By the time I was done, every account with Trish's name on it was effectively empty except for the minimums required to keep them open. Next, I called the property management company that handled my rental units, 5 small commercial spaces in Newark that generated steady income. At this hour, I got voicemail, so I left a message redirecting all future payments to a new account, one Trish had never known about. The coffee finished brewing. I poured a cup and walked out onto the deck. The lake stretched out before me, black and smooth as glass, reflecting a sky full of stars. Somewhere out there, my daughter was probably still celebrating, dancing with her new husband, surrounded by people who'd treated me like hired help. Let them celebrate. They'd earned it. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. Dad, Mom just figured out you emptied the accounts. She's losing it. Says she's calling the police. I smiled grimly and typed back. Tell her to go ahead. Every account I touched was either solely in my name or joint, which means I have every legal right to move MY money. She can explain to the police why she thinks she's entitled to funds she didn't earn. She's saying you're trying to leave her destitute. She has a degree in marketing and 30 years of work experience. She'll figure it out. You and Ella okay? We left the reception an hour ago. Neither of us could stomach watching Amanda play the victim when she's the one who put you at table 14. Where are you now? Ella's apartment. We're having our own celebration. A toast to Dad finally growing a spine. I laughed, the first genuine laugh I'd had in months. Get some sleep, son. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. I went back inside, finished my coffee, and climbed into bed. For the first time in years, I fell asleep without the weight of someone else's expectations pressing down on my chest. Sunday morning arrived with weak sunlight filtering through the pine trees and the distant call of loons on the lake. I woke at 6, a habit formed from 30 years of running a business, and made myself a breakfast of eggs and bacon. Real food, cooked the way I liked it, without anyone commenting on cholesterol or suggesting I try egg whites instead. My phone had accumulated 23 more messages overnight. I ignored them all and focused on my laptop, pulling up documents I filed away years ago. The family trust, established when Amanda was born. The education fund, built from quarterly contributions over 27 years. The life insurance policy with Trish as primary beneficiary. All of it needed to be reviewed, revised, and in some cases revoked. Around 9, my phone rang. Frank Hutchins, my lawyer, calling from his personal cell. Rob, I got your email. What the hell happened? I gave him the short version. The badge, the table assignment, the whispered comment about no plate, the $300,000 check currently sitting in my jacket pocket. Frank was quiet for a long moment. Then, Jesus, Rob, I'm sorry. That's brutal. I need everything protected, Frank. Every asset, every account, every piece of property. I want a complete separation of finances. And I want it documented so thoroughly that even God couldn't argue with it in court. You're talking about divorce. I'm talking about protecting myself from people who see me as an ATM machine with legs. What about Amanda? The education fund was set up specifically for her. I looked out at the lake, watching a heron pick its way along the shoreline. The fund had conditions, didn't it? I remember you insisted on including clauses about respect and family obligations. Yeah. Standard behavioral provisions. They're in there to prevent beneficiaries from taking the money and disappearing, or treating the grantor like garbage. But Rob, enforcing those clauses means going to court, making everything public. Good. Let it be public. Let everyone see exactly what kind of family I've been funding. Frank sighed. All right, I'll draw up the paperwork. But you should know, Trish has probably already called a lawyer of her own. This is going to get ugly. It was already ugly, Frank. I'm just refusing to pretend anymore. We talked for another 20 minutes, laying out a strategy. Freeze the education fund, pending review. File for legal separation. Redirect all business income to protected accounts. Change beneficiaries on insurance policies. It was surgical, methodical, and completely legal. After we hung up, I called Rachel Mercer, my goddaughter, and the closest thing I had to a daughter who actually appreciated me. She answered on the second ring. Uncle Rob, I heard what happened. Are you okay? Rachel had been at the wedding, seated at a decent table, because her parents were Trisha's college friends. But she'd always been different, had always treated me with genuine warmth and respect. I'm fine, Rachel. Better than fine, actually. Listen, I need to ask you something important. Anything. How would you feel about managing a charitable foundation? Something focused on helping kids from working-class families get into medical careers. Scholarship funding, mentorship programs, that sort of thing. Silence. Then, carefully, that sounds amazing. But Uncle Rob, that would require serious funding. I'm aware. Let's call it $300,000 to start, with more to follow depending on how well it's managed. You'd have full operational control, salary included. I'd just be the financial backer. $300,000. That's the same amount that was supposed to go to Amanda. Was being the operative word. Amanda made her choice when she put me at table 14. Now I'm making mine. Are you interested? Yes. Absolutely yes. Good. I'll have my lawyer draw up the paperwork this week. Welcome to the team, Rachel. After we hung up, I sat on the deck with my third cup of coffee and watched the sun climb higher over the lake. Somewhere back in the city, Trish was probably tearing the house apart, looking for financial documents. Amanda was probably crying, wondering where her money went. And I was here, finally free, finally in control of my own life. It felt like waking up after a 30-year coma. Monday morning, I met Frank at his office in downtown Newark. He had 3 manila folders spread across his desk, each one thicker than a phone book. The man looked like he'd been up all night, which he probably had. Before we start, you should see this, Frank said, turning his laptop toward me. On the screen was a video, grainy cell phone footage from the wedding reception. Someone had filmed me standing at the gift table, taking my envelope, and walking out. You could see Trish chasing after me, her mouth moving in what was clearly frantic pleading. The caption read, "Father of the bride treated like trash at daughter's wedding. Given restricted access badge, and told no dinner plate for him. He took his $300,000 gift and left." The video had been posted 6 hours ago. It already had 4 million views. Who posted this? I asked. Can't tell from the account. But the comments are brutal. 90% are supporting you, calling out your wife and daughter for the disrespect. The other 10% are calling you petty. I scrolled through the comments. Good. Let them see the truth. Rob, this changes things. Your family can't spin this as you having some kind of breakdown. There's visual evidence of how they treated you. Even better. Now let's talk about protecting what's mine. We spent 2 hours going through documents. Frank had already drafted separation papers, asset division proposals, and trust modifications. The education fund for Amanda had a clause I'd forgotten about, something Frank had insisted on including 27 years ago. Disbursement may be withheld if the beneficiary demonstrates sustained disrespect or exclusion of the grantor from significant life events. That's it, I said, pointing at the screen. That clause right there. A restricted access badge and no dinner plate at her wedding counts as exclusion, doesn't it? In my professional opinion, absolutely. We can freeze the fund, pending a family court review. Given that video evidence, I'd say you have a strong case for permanent revocation. Do it. Frank nodded and made notes. What about Trish? She's going to fight the asset separation. Let her fight. Every account I emptied was either mine individually or joint. She has no legal standing to complain about me moving my own money. And Frank, I want you to pull the financial records for the past 5 years. Every transaction, every purchase, every transfer. I want to know exactly where our money went. You think she was hiding something? I thought about Derek, the groom. About how familiar he'd seemed with Trish at the rehearsal dinner. About the expensive jewelry she'd been wearing lately, pieces I didn't remember buying. I think it's time I stopped assuming the best about people who've shown me their worst. We wrapped up around noon. As I was leaving, Frank's assistant stopped me in the hallway. Mr. Kincaid, I just want to say, my dad went through something similar with my sister. I'm sorry this happened to you. You deserve better. I thanked her and walked to my car. My phone showed 43 missed calls. I ignored them all except one from Michael. Dad, you need to see what's happening online. Someone posted video from the wedding, and it's everywhere. I know. Frank showed me. Mom's freaking out. She's getting destroyed in the comments. People are calling her all kinds of names. Amanda shut down her Instagram because people were flooding it with angry messages. Good. Dad, some news station wants to interview you. Local NBC affiliate. They called the house looking for comment. I stopped walking. A news station? Yeah. Said something about doing a story on wedding etiquette and family dynamics. They want your side of things. I thought about it. On one hand, going public would be pouring gasoline on an already raging fire. On the other hand, I'd spent 30 years being quiet, being accommodating, letting Trish and Amanda control the narrative. Give them my number, I said. The interview aired Tuesday evening. I watched it from the lake house, Michael and Ella sitting on either side of me on the worn couch. The reporter, a sharp woman named Lisa Bennett, had done her homework. She showed the viral video, then cut to me, sitting in a neutral location, looking calm and composed. Mr. Kincaid, can you tell us what happened at your daughter's wedding? On screen, I saw myself explaining it simply, without drama. The badge. The table assignment. The whispered comment about no dinner plate. The decision to leave with a gift I'd brought. Some people are saying you overreacted, Lisa said. What's your response to that? I spent 30 years building a business from nothing, so my children would have opportunities one never had. I put 3 kids through college without loans. I've been a provider, a father, and what I thought was a husband. But at some point, you have to ask yourself, if the people you've sacrificed for can't even give you a seat at the table, what exactly are you sacrificing for? The interview cut to Amanda's response, filmed outside her new apartment. She looked tired, makeup free, very different from the radiant bride. My father has always been dramatic, Amanda said, her voice thin. He took something that wasn't about him and made it all about him. The badge was just a venue requirement. He's blowing this out of proportion. But Lisa had brought receipts. She pulled up the wedding venue's website, showed their standard practices. No restricted access badges mentioned anywhere. Then she showed the seating chart, leaked by someone at the wedding, with my name relegated to table 14, while Uncle Paul, who contributed nothing, sat at the head table. That's called journalism, Michael said, grinning. The segment ended with Lisa's voiceover. Whatever the truth about family dynamics, one thing is clear. Respect isn't something you can buy with money, but it is something you can lose when you forget to give it. My phone rang immediately. Trish. I let go to voicemail, but Ella grabbed my phone and played it on speaker. Robert, this interview was completely inappropriate. You've humiliated Amanda on a national level. I expect you to issue a public apology and return that money immediately. This has gone far enough. Ella looked at me, her eyes fierce. Dad, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you months ago. What is it, sweetheart? Derek, Amanda's husband. I saw him and Mom at a restaurant together last March. They were having lunch, sitting really close, laughing. It looked wrong, Dad. Really wrong. The room went silent. Michael's jaw tightened. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Why didn't you tell me then? I convinced myself I was seeing things, that Mom was just being friendly, helping with wedding planning. But Dad, the way they looked at each other, that wasn't planning. That was something else. Michael stood up, pacing. I swear to God if Mom... Easy, I said, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. We don't know anything for sure yet. But Ella, I need you to tell me everything you remember. Every detail. She did. The restaurant, an expensive Italian place downtown. The time, around 2 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. The way Derek had reached across the table and touched Trish's hand. The way she'd smiled at him. That particular smile I hadn't seen directed at me in years. There's more, Ella said quietly. I think Amanda knows. I think that's why she was okay with Mom planning everything, with pushing you to the side. Because if you were too close, you might see it too. I sat there processing. If this was true, it explained everything. The distance, the disrespect, the casual cruelty. They hadn't just stopped valuing me. They'd been actively working to push me away, to make me the outsider in my own family. Frank's pulling financial records, I said finally. If there's evidence of an affair, it'll show up in credit card statements, hotel charges, unusual expenses. We'll know soon enough. Michael looked at me. And if it's true, I smiled, but there was nothing warm in it. Then I stopped playing defense and go on offense. If they want war, I'll give them war. Frank called Thursday morning with news that made my coffee taste bitter. Rob, I've been through the financial records. You need to see this in person. I drove to his office and found him looking grim. Spread across his conference table were 6 months of credit card statements, highlighted in 3 different colors. Yellow for hotels, pink for restaurants, green for jewelry and gifts. The Grandview Hotel, 18 times since January, Frank said, pointing at the yellow highlights. Always weekday afternoons. Always charged to your joint American Express. The hotel confirmed that the rooms were booked under Patricia Kincaid's name, and Derek was in town for those dates. Every single one. He works for Hoffman Financial Services, travels to Newark twice a month for client meetings. I got his company's travel schedule from a contact. The dates match perfectly. I stared at the statements, watching 18 afternoons of betrayal documented in neat columns of numbers. What about the jewelry? Frank slid another statement across the table. Tiffany's, $12,000 in March. A men's Rolex. Delivered to a P.O. box registered in Derek's name. Your business credit card paid for it. She bought her daughter's fiancé a $12,000 watch with my money. It gets worse. Look at these restaurant charges. Frank pointed to the pink highlights. Always the same places. Dante's, the Capitol Grill, Sullivan's Steakhouse. Expensive dinners for two, usually around $200. These aren't lunch meetings, Rob. These are dates. I counted them. 23 dinners over 6 months. Almost weekly. How long do you think this has been going on? Frank pulled out another folder. I went back 2 years like you asked. The pattern starts about 14 months ago, right after Derek and Amanda got engaged. At first it was just occasional lunches. By last fall, it had escalated to regular hotel visits. My hands were steady as I picked up the statements, but inside I felt something dark and cold taking shape. Not grief, not even anger anymore, just a methodical need to make sure everyone knew exactly what had happened here. Can we use this in divorce proceedings? Absolutely. New Jersey is a no-fault state, but evidence of adultery can affect asset division, especially when marital funds were used to finance the affair. A judge will not look kindly on your wife spending your money to have a relationship with your son-in-law. What about Amanda? Did she know? Frank pulled out his phone and showed me a screenshot. A text conversation between Trish and Amanda, recovered from phone records that Frank's investigator had legally obtained. Amanda, where are you? The wedding planner needs to talk to us. Trish, having lunch with Derek. Wedding business. Be home by 5. Amanda, again? Mom, people are going to notice. Trish, let them notice. Your father certainly doesn't. I read it 3 times, feeling my jaw tighten. She knew. She knew, Rob. Maybe not every detail, but she knew something was happening, and she looked the other way. That's why it was so easy for her to push you aside at the wedding. You weren't just in the way of her perfect day. You were in the way of their whole arrangement. I stood up and walked to the window, looking down at the Newark streets below. Ordinary people living ordinary lives, untouched by this kind of calculated betrayal. I want everything documented, I said quietly. Every hotel visit, every dinner, every text message you can legally obtain. I want a case so airtight that when this goes to court, there's no room for lies or excuses. Already working on it. But Rob, you should know this is going to go public. Once we file, these documents become part of the court record. Everyone will know what happened. Good. Let them know. I've spent 30 years protecting Trisha's reputation, covering for her mistakes, making excuses for her behavior. I'm done protecting people who never protected me. Frank nodded slowly. There's one more thing. The lake house, the one you bought before you were married. I checked the deed. It's solely in your name, purchased with funds that predate your marriage. She has no claim to it. She never wanted it anyway. Called it rustic and boring. Well, it's yours. Clean and clear. And given everything else we've found, I'd recommend you change the locks. Today. I smiled grimly. Already done. By Friday, the story had exploded beyond social media. 3 major news outlets picked it up, framing it as a story about modern family dynamics and respect. The New York Post ran with the headline, "Father takes back $300,000 wedding gift after being given restricted access badge." But it was the Daily Mail that really did the damage. Someone had leaked the hotel receipts and text messages to them, and they published everything. Photos of the Grandview Hotel, timeline graphics showing Derek's travel schedule overlapping with the room bookings. Even a statement from a hotel employee who remembered seeing a well-dressed older woman meeting a younger man in his late 20s multiple times. My phone was ringing off the hook. I ignored most calls, but when Michael called at noon, I picked up. "Dad, have you seen the Daily Mail article? Just read it. Mom's losing it." She called me screaming about invasion of privacy, threatening to sue everyone. Amanda's apparently locked herself in her apartment and won't answer the door. Derek's parents are demanding he get an annulment. What about Derek himself? Radio silence. Word is he's been suspended from his job, pending an internal investigation. Apparently, using company travel to conduct an affair is against Hoffman Financial's ethics policy. Who knew? I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. And Amanda? Michael's voice hardened. Amanda posted on Instagram an hour ago. Claimed she had no idea about Mom and Derek. Said she's a victim too. The comments are tearing her apart. People are posting screenshots of that text message where she told Mom people are going to notice. Her whole innocent act fell apart in about 10 minutes. She made her choice when she handed me that badge. Dad, Uncle Paul called me this morning. Said the whole family's in chaos. Aunt Margaret is demanding Trish apologize to you publicly. Cousin Jennifer said she always knew Trish was trouble. Even Grandma Sullivan called to say you deserve better. I sat down on the deck of the lake house, watching the water. It's amazing how quickly people's memories change when the truth comes out. What happens next? Frank's filing divorce papers Monday morning. Adultery, misuse of marital funds, emotional cruelty. Everything documented. After that, I'm focusing on the business and the foundation with Rachel. Let Trish and Amanda figure out their own mess. What about the house? The house we lived in? Joint asset. Will be handled in the divorce. But Michael, I need you to do something for me. I need you to go there this weekend when Trish is out and get my things. Personal items, photos from when you kids are young, anything that matters to me. I don't trust her not to destroy it out of spite. Already planned on it. Ella and I are going Saturday morning. We'll pack everything up and bring it to storage. Thank you, son, for everything. You and Ella have been the only bright spots in this disaster. Dad, we love you. And for what it's worth, everyone I've talked to says you did the right thing. Walking out of that wedding, taking back the money, exposing what was happening. People respect a man who knows his worth. After we hung up, I sat there for a long time, thinking about worth and respect and the 30 years I'd spent trying to earn something that should have been freely given. Rachel called an hour later, excited. Uncle Rob, I just got off the phone with the state nonprofit board. Our foundation application was approved. We're officially a registered charity, the Robert Kincaid Medical Excellence Foundation. I thought we agreed on the Rachel Mercer Foundation. I changed it. This is your money, your vision. Your name should be on it. Plus, now when people search your name, they'll find something good instead of just the wedding drama. Smart kid. How soon can we start accepting scholarship applications? 2 weeks. I've already got 3 hospitals interested in partnering with us for mentorship programs. Uncle Rob, this is going to change lives. That's the idea. Spend the money on kids who actually appreciate what they're given. After Rachel hung up, I walked down to the dock and sat with my feet dangling over the water. My phone buzzed with another call. Trish. I declined it and watched the screen light up with a text. We need to talk. This has gone too far. Please. I typed back a single sentence. Talk to my lawyer. I'm done talking to you. Then I blocked her number. The sun was setting over the lake, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Somewhere back in the city, my old life was burning down. My marriage was over. My relationship with Amanda was probably beyond repair. The business I'd built, the family I provided for, all of it transformed into something unrecognizable. But sitting there on the dock, watching the sunset, I didn't feel sad. I felt free. For the first time in 30 years, nobody was telling me what to think, what to feel, what to accept. Nobody was whispering that I didn't deserve a plate at the table. I'd taken back more than $300,000. I'd taken back my dignity. And that, I was beginning to realize, was worth far more than any amount of money. The divorce proceedings moved faster than expected. When you have 18 hotel receipts, 23 restaurant charges, text messages proving knowledge and complicity, and a $12,000 watch purchased with marital funds for your wife's lover, judges tend to expedite things. Frank called me 3 weeks after filing. Rob, Trish's lawyer wants to negotiate. They know they can't win this in court. What are they offering? She keeps the house in Newark. You keep the lake house in your business. She gets her car. You keep yours. Joint assets split 60-40 in your favor due to the affair. She waives any claim to your retirement accounts or future business profits. What about spousal support? She's asking for minimal alimony, just enough to cover expenses while she finds work. Her lawyer knows that asking for more would be laughed out of court given the circumstances. I thought about it. The house in Newark held nothing but bad memories anyway. Let her have it, along with the mortgage and the expensive maintenance she'd always demanded. Counter with 70-30 split on joint assets. No alimony at all. She has a marketing degree and work experience. She can support herself like the rest of us. Frank whistled. That's aggressive. She spent my money to have an affair with my son-in-law. Aggressive is the minimum she deserves. And Frank, make sure the settlement includes a clause prohibiting her from speaking publicly about me or the marriage. I don't want her selling her side of the story to tabloids. Done. I'll send the counteroffer today. Caroline's lawyer responded within 48 hours. They accepted everything except the alimony. After 2 more rounds of negotiation, we settled on 12 months of minimal support, $5,000 a month, with strict clauses about public silence and non-disparagement. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday in late September. I didn't attend the hearing. Frank handled it, called me afterward. It's done, Rob. You're officially a free man. I sat on the lake house deck, watching autumn leaves drift across the water. Free. The word felt strange, unfamiliar, like trying on clothes that didn't quite fit yet. Michael called that evening. Dad, I heard the divorce went through. How are you feeling? Relieved, mostly. How's your mother handling it? She moved into a condo downtown. Smaller place, nothing fancy. I think reality's setting in that the lifestyle she had is gone. She asked about you yesterday. What did she say? Asked if you were happy now that you destroyed the family. I told her you didn't destroy anything. You just stopped funding the destruction she'd already caused. And Amanda? Michael's voice hardened. Amanda and Derek are separated. He's living with his parents. She's in a studio apartment, working as a receptionist at a dental office. Her Instagram influencer career died when everyone found out what she'd done. Turns out brands don't want to partner with people who humiliate their fathers. I don't take pleasure in her struggles, Michael. Maybe not, but you shouldn't feel guilty either. She made choices. Now she's living with consequences. That's called being an adult. Ella called next. Dad, I have news. I got accepted into a nurse practitioner program at Johns Hopkins. Full scholarship. Starts in January. Ella, that's incredible. Congratulations, sweetheart. I couldn't have done it without you. Not just financially, but watching you stand up for yourself these past few months. You showed me that self-respect isn't selfish. It's necessary. After we hung up, I walked down to the dock and sat watching the sunset paint the lake in shades of gold and crimson. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. Uncle Rob, the foundation awarded its first 5 scholarships today. All 5 students sent thank you videos. Want me to send them to you? Please do. The videos arrived minutes later. 5 kids, ages 18 to 22, all from working class families, all heading into medical careers. They talked about their dreams, their struggles, their gratitude for an opportunity they'd never thought possible. One girl, Maria from Newark, looked directly at the camera and said, Mr. Kincaid, I don't know why you started this foundation, but thank you for believing in people like me. I promise I'll make you proud. I watched that video 3 times, feeling something warm and unexpected in my chest. Not happiness exactly, but purpose. These kids would do something meaningful with the money Amanda had taken for granted. The sun disappeared below the horizon. I stood up, stretched, and walked back to the house. Tomorrow I had a meeting with a potential investor interested in expanding my medical equipment distribution into 3 new states. Next week, Rachel and I were touring university campuses to recruit more scholarship applicants. Life was moving forward, and for the first time in 30 years, I was moving with it on my own terms. June arrived with warm sunshine and the smell of pine drifting through the lake house windows. I'd made some changes to the place over the winter, added a new deck, upgraded the kitchen, turned 1 bedroom into a home office. It wasn't rustic anymore. It was home. I was sitting on that new deck, reviewing quarterly reports from the business, when Michael's truck pulled into the driveway. He wasn't alone. Ella climbed out of the passenger seat, both of them grinning. Surprise visit? I asked, standing to hug them. Not exactly a surprise, Michael said. We told you we were coming. You just forget to check your messages sometimes. Old age, I said, smiling. We grilled burgers on the new outdoor kitchen I'd installed, sat around the deck table eating and talking about everything and nothing. Michael told stories about his fire captain training. Ella talked about her nurse practitioner program, how challenging and rewarding it was. Dad, Ella said carefully, we saw Amanda last week. I set down my beer. How is she? Struggling. She's working 2 jobs now, the dental receptionist thing and waitressing on weekends. Derek filed for divorce 3 months ago. She's living alone, no social media presence, pretty much isolated herself. She reached out to us, Michael added. Asked if we thought you'd ever forgive her. What did you tell her? That forgiveness isn't something you owe people just because they're family, that she'd have to earn it, and we weren't sure what that would look like. I nodded slowly. That's fair. Dad, Ella said softly. Do you think you'll ever talk to her again? I looked out at the lake, watching a family of ducks paddle past. Maybe. Someday. When she understands that respect isn't negotiable and love without respect is just manipulation. Until then, I have a life to live and people to support who actually value what I give. My phone rang. Rachel, calling with excitement in her voice. Uncle Rob, you won't believe this. We just got a grant from the state medical board. $200,000 for the foundation. They said our model of supporting working class students is exactly what healthcare needs. That's fantastic, Rachel. You've done an amazing job. We've done an amazing job. This is as much yours as mine. Oh, and the first cohort of scholarship recipients, all 5 got accepted into their programs. Maria, the girl from Newark, is starting at Columbia Medical School in the fall. After hanging up, I looked at Michael and Ella. The foundation just got a state grant. $200,000. Dad, that's incredible, Michael said. You turned the worst moment of your life into something that's changing other people's lives. That's what you do when people show you who they really are. You stop wasting energy on them and redirect it somewhere worthwhile. We sat there as the sun set. 3 people who'd chosen to stick together when everything else fell apart. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Mr. Kincaid, this is Amanda. I know I don't deserve to contact you, but I wanted you to know that I understand now what I did. I see how badly I hurt you. I'm not asking for forgiveness or money or anything else. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I'm truly, deeply sorry. I stared at the message for a long time. Ella and Michael watched me, saying nothing. Finally, I typed back, thank you for acknowledging it. That takes courage. I hope you build a life you can be proud of. I didn't add anything else. Didn't offer reconciliation or promise future contact. Just acknowledged her apology and wished her well. Sometimes that's enough. What did she say? Ella asked. She apologized. I told her I hoped she'd build a better life. Are you going to see her? Maybe eventually. But not now. Right now, I'm focusing on the people who never made me question my worth. Michael raised his beer. To Dad, the toughest man I know. Ella raised hers. To knowing your value and never settling for less. I raised mine. To second chances. Not for the people who hurt you, but for yourself. We clinked bottles as the last light faded from the sky. Somewhere in Newark, Trish was probably in her condo, living a smaller life on a tighter budget. Amanda was probably finishing her waitressing shift, exhausted and alone. Derek was probably in his childhood bedroom, wondering how he'd ruined everything. But here, on this deck, surrounded by the 2 people who'd never wavered in their loyalty, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Complete. The restricted access badge was long gone, thrown away the night of the wedding. But its lesson remained. Respect yourself enough to walk away from people who can't see your value. Take back your power. Build something meaningful with it. And never, ever accept a seat at a table where you're treated like you don't belong. Because the truth is, if they can't make room for you at their table, you don't need their table at all. You can build your own.